Hello and welcome. In this video tutorial, we will be looking at how to add specific motions called programs to the PyMol3 timeline. And we'll also be looking at how to use subtracks to edit visual settings such as transparency. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to run a PyMol script to create selections and apply styling, store programs to the PyMol3 timeline, add transparency subtracks, and create a movie with a combination of programs and transparency transitions. Let's get started. We've already looked at how to add scenes and camera views to the timeline directly within PyMol, so be sure to check out the previous movie creation videos that cover this if you need a refresher. If you like, you can follow along with this video using a scenes-based movie you've already created in PyMol3, but I'm going to load in the SLES bilayer PDB file from the PyMol3 course data directory. This sodium lauryl ether sulfate, or SLES bilayer, was built using the Schrödinger Materials Science Suite, and you can learn more about this workflow in our Molecular Modeling for Materials Science Applications Consumer Packaged Goods Schrödinger Online Certification course. We've used this structure in a previous video tutorial, and we could apply some styling using a new preset, for example the CuteMod-like preset that we created in that tutorial. Or we could do so manually using the #LC submenus. We've also covered how to do some styling and create selections or extract objects via the command line, and we can take this a step further by putting all of these commands into a list in a basic text editor and then saving this file with the .pml extension. Set your working directory to the PyMol3 course data directory, and in the command input area type run sles_styling_script.pml, or you can use the tab button on your keyboard to autocomplete that file name, so long as it's in your working directory. We can see the commands that have been executed in the command log, and feel free to inspect the comments, the lines that start with a hash or pound sign, in the .pml file that's in the PyMol3 course data directory to get a better understanding of what each of these commands is doing. Remember that you can check out the PyMol command help, as well as the selection algebra, property selectors, single word selectors, and colouring references in the PyMol wiki for more guidance. After running that styling script, our SLES bilayer is looking great, and we can see that as well as the SLES object, selections have been created for each of the components, the lauryl ether sulfate, sodium, and the water. Let's go ahead and create a nice movie with this. Click on the timeline icon in the toggle toolbar below the contents panel to open the timeline. Let's start by zooming out, choosing a nice angle for our bilayer, and storing a camera view here. Next, we're going to right-click on the camera track and choose Store Program. This object doesn't have multiple states, so we can ignore the first two options here, but we'll be coming back to those in later tutorials using multi-state objects. You may remember the new tape program from the Sending Scenes from Maestro to PyMol tutorial, and we can alter the angle here like we did in the Maestro Send to PyMol dialog, and we can choose how long we want this program to last. I'm going to click and select and delete that new tape program, and let's try out the other options. Let's keep some of the default roll settings here, 2 loops and the y-axis, and just increase the duration of this program. This looks good. Try out the rock program as well, and go ahead and test out editing the angle and the axis here too. We've already seen how to delete programs, but we can easily adjust and edit programs on the timeline as well. For example, let's stretch this one out or make it shorter to alter the duration. And we can also right-click and edit the program, and I'm going to swap this roll program to an x-axis rotation. Nice. Let's go ahead and add a second program to our timeline. I'm going to have one roll program rotating through X and then another that rotates through Y. Looking good. We looked at how to add object-specific tracks in the previous video tutorial, but rather than transforming or moving any of the objects here, we're going to add a new track for our SLES object and then add a subtrack that relates to the transparency of a specific representation. It's worth pointing out that the setting simply named transparency in PyMol is actually related to surface transparency. We don't have a surface showing for this object currently, but we can see the spheres for all atoms in this system. So let's add a sphere transparency subtrack. In the timeline inspector, we can see the sphere transparency track for our SLES object, and we can use the slider here to go from 0 transparency, which is fully opaque, through to 1, which is fully transparent spheres. Just like with saving views, we can use the keyframe icon here to save a sphere transparency keyframe at a specific value along the timeline. And once added, we can easily move or delete these. I'm going to do a slow fade through transparency so we can see the spheres to begin with, and then lower the transparency again. Nice. If we wanted to make this movie a little more complex, we could copy each of the selections we have in our contents panel to new objects, and then we could add object subtracks for the LES, sodium and water, and alter the transparency for each of the objects independently. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and try this, but we will be looking at how to duplicate or copy multi-state objects to layer representations in a later video, so feel free to keep things simple here and stay tuned for that. I'm pretty happy with how this movie looks so far, but I might go back and edit some of the timings of the programs and the transparency transitions. You might want to get even more creative here and store some views or scenes to capture specific positions or representations, as we've done in previous tutorials. You could even experiment with some of the additional subtract settings you see in the drop-down list, but we will be covering colour changes in the next video tutorial, so stay tuned for that. As is the case with many creative projects, and certainly when creating structure-dependent visualizations, the best thing to do here is to play around with the settings until you're happy with how things look. Try out some different representations, programs, and timings until you're confident about the story your movie is telling. And don't forget to save your session. Before exporting this movie, we could use the lighting settings plugin to change and test a few other settings, but the script that we ran back at the beginning of this tutorial actually included some nice ray tracing settings, so I'm going to leave things as they are here. That said, you can always rerun the script to restore those settings if needed. Check out the earlier generating images video tutorial for a recap, and visit the PyMol wiki and the command help for further guidance. Once you're happy with how everything is looking, go ahead and export the movie. We covered the basics of exporting movies in previous tutorials, and I'm going to ray trace this one, but remember it's good practice to render a movie in draw mode first, and to do a static ray trace test to check everything is looking good before spending the time and processing power ray tracing a movie. I'm going to use a 1920 width and a 1080 height with the FFmpeg encoder and MPEG-4 biotype. A reminder as well that when using the FFmpeg encoder, you will need to follow the install instructions if you're using a new version of PyMol for the first time. Here's the result of that export with ray trace rendering. Looking good. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial. You can now run a PyMol script to create selections and apply styling, store programs to the PyMol 3 timeline, add transparency subtracks, and create a movie with a combination of programs and transparency transitions. Thanks for watching.